Note: this video is for educational purposes only. FS22 Videos is not responsible for any damage caused by the software, you, or anything I show in this tutorial. You are attempting this at your own risk. By continuing to view this video, you agree to the stated above. Hello everyone, welcome back. It's FS22 Videos, and I am back again with another tutorial. This is because of this one person kind of started it. I'm not going to try to say your name because I butcher names. I'll put it up across the screen. And so basically, him and me's talked on Discord, and he wants to know how to make dynamic objects, and so I figured I'd show that. And he's also having some texture problems with like texturing it in Blender, and then it sounds like either importing it in the GE is something's going on there, to where when he imports it or opens up the mod in Farming Simulator, I'm going to show you how I do it, and I've never really had any issues. So let's get into it. I'm also going to be showing you how I make normals. It will make your textures look a little bit better, because instead of looking like a flat image on something, it will kind of add like this area dips in and this area kind of bumpy and stuff. So what you will need is you will need Giants Editor, Blender, Farming Simulator, GIMP, or something like that, but I recommend GIMP because I will be showing you how to do this. And they will all be down in the description, download links for it. And I will also link Giants Developer Network, because I will also be using some stuff here, because we're basically going to be building kind of a mod. I already got the XML set up and stuff, so let's get into it. So I've already got a texture here. It's real simple. I'm going to delete this normal, and I'm going to grab this, right click, go down to open with GIMP. Now I've saved this with GIMP as a DDS. Giant Software does not really like it. They have their own thing and they want you to use. I'm not going to load any of the maps. I could, but then I'd just flatten it all, because it has to be one image. So if I have like 3 or 4 different layers in GIMP and I go to export it as a DDS, only the selected layer over here will be exported. All the other ones will not show up unless you go over here and go flatten image, which is right click and go down. So we want to make this a normal. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click, go to filters, and then we're going to go generic, normal map. Alright, so this looks good. We're going to hit OK, and then we're going to export as, and then you're going to want to change, instead of diff, you're going to go normal, and save it. Then we're going to go over here to maps, and we're going to do generate, and then export. Alright, so we're going to close this down, discard changes, and we have our normal. So there is nothing in this i3D other than a camera. I will also have this entire template on my Discord, or not my Discord, my website. I'll paste a link down below in the description for that too. So if you want to take this and play around with it. This is the XML. And so this is the mod disk. So if you want to copy that, or if you want to download it off my site, you can. So I've created a textures folder and assets. I'm going to grab this, delete that, open this back up. We're going to clear this completely out. Come on, Blender, open up. There we go. Apparently I didn't click it right. Anyway, so we are going to just hit delete. We're going to hit Shift A, Mesh, Cube. So that's the object we want. So we're going to go over to Shading. We're going to click New, name this whatever you want. I'm going to call it Block Text. Now we're going to go over here. You can maneuver by pushing your mouse button down and then moving your cursor. Shift A, go down to textures, or texture, and then image texture. We're going to put it right here, right where it says color. Click this little yellow thing and drag it down the base color. Then we're going to do this over again. We're going to go Shift A, image texture. We're going to drop it here. Then we're going to go Shift A again, and we're going to go to vector, normal map, and drop it right here. We're going to take this color and plug it into color on the normal map vector. And then we're going to grab normal and we're going to bring it down right here to normal. Now we're going to go here to open. And from where I have it, I have this Blender file saved. I just have to delete asset up here. And then I have to go into textures. Now this one we want the one that says diff. So we're going to open image. And you're gonna notice it shows up, but it kind of looks dull. You can tell there's like something there, but just like dull and stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up this one, and we're going to do the same thing, except instead of selecting the one that says underscore diff, we're going to do the one that says underscore normal. So open that up, and you may notice that it kind of looks not as flat. Well, another thing we want to say is you're going to go down right here where it says color space, click this, and you want it to be non-color, but it doesn't look as flat as it used to, so I'm gonna remove this. That's what it looks like before we add normal, and that's what it looks like once we add normal. So it does improve it, and you can also screw around with some of the settings with when you're adding the normal map settings in GIMP, and you can make it harsher or less harsher. So right now this doesn't really look right of how we want it, so I'm going to show you how to UV map it. Go up here to layout, then we're going to go over here and we're going to select this so we can see our texture. Next up we're going to bring this up, go over this little clock, click it, and go to UV editor. Now you're going to hit tab, that's going to take you into edit mode. We're going to click on this little button here and go to block text underscore diff, not normal. And now we have this entire object selected, so you hit U on your keyboard, Smart UV Project, hit OK. Now we can zoom out on our texture here. Now you go into want to make sure UV sync selection is enabled, and then select this face selection. And what this does is the face selection makes it so these are faces, so you don't have like the drag and grab them in the little dots by itself. And what this UV sync selection does is if we click without it, they disappear, and we have to select each face to do something. And if we let go of the editor face, then it disappears. What this does is it shows all the faces even when they're not selected. So what I'm going to do is I want all the faces to say hi on them. So we're going to grab this face, hit G, move it over to the side, grab this one, G. We're just going to get them out of our way real quick. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to G, move it over the HI, then we're going to scale it X. So S and then X, and then move your cursor. And then to rotate this, we're going to hit R and type 90. And there you go. So we're going to do this to all these faces. So I'm going to speed this up real quick. Okay, so I got all these faces done. There's one thing I want to add. When you're using the shortcuts to scale or rotate, make sure your cursor is always right here where you see my cursor. If it's outside this area, I hit S, it will affect the cube or your object, period. So you always want to, when you're working with UV, always keep your cursor inside here. It'll be fine if it goes out here, but as soon as it leaves this panel and goes into your view, you will not be changing the UV of how the texture looks. You will be changing the, what would you say, geometry of your cube. So we now can exit object mode by hitting tab, and we can bring this tab or whatever you want to call it down. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cube already in here. So we're going to go Shift A, Mesh Cube. I'm going to scale it up just a tad, and then we're going to go and click this little square, Object Properties. Go up here, and we're going to call this Coal Box. And we can also name this as a model. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to select model and coal box. We can do that by going over to the scene selection or hierarchy, whatever you want to call it. Select one of them and hit Control and select the other one. Do not select the light and camera. Also, by the way, if you want to know how I export to i3D, I have a video of that, so go check it out. I'll link it with the card up in the right. So now we're going to go and delete the asset up here in the directory, and we have to change the name now, so I'm going to just change it to import me. So let's go and export i3D. Export i3D successful. Okay, so we can save this if we like. Okay, so we're going to close this down. So we have our import, so we're going to grab this. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I don't want to overwrite the camera and have to make a camera. I'm just lazy, that's the point of it. Now we're going to go up to File, Import. We're going to import the importme.i3D. Okay, so now we're going to zoom in a little bit. We're going to grab the model, press down with your middle mouse button, and drag it up to coal box. So now we're going to go to the coal box, or whatever you want to call it. Set your clip distance to 300. That will keep error from showing up in your console. Go to your model and do the exact same thing. So when you set it to 1,000 or leave it as like 1,000 or whatever it was, what will happen is it will come up in your console and say that I think there's a warning, and say that it doesn't, basically you can't have a clip distance of that far, and so it defaults to 300. To get rid of that error, especially if you're going to put this on Mod Network, you're going to need to get rid of that error. Now, if you have plans of putting this on Mod Network, just keep in mind that you will have to do some working out with it, with the textures and stuff, because Farming Simulator does not like how I exported this DDS. It says it's a raw format, and it also does not like the size of it because it's the size of my screen. I think it has to be like, what is it, like, let's go to mods, my maps. It has to be 256. There's another one I thought. This is so it has to be either 256 or, let's go here. Or 512 by 512. So it either has to be those two, or you will get this warning right here. Right here, I highlighted it. So just to kind of help you out. Another thing is, if you are trying to add a normal map and you're getting an error and it disappears, you have to go up to Shapes and add a tangent to that object. So now that we have that, we're going to go up to Collision Box, or Coal Box. We're going to slide down to Rigid Body. Next, we're going to go over here, make sure that this says Collision. Something very important is static does not move. Kinematic is for like a door. So if you can animate a static object, but if you look in your console, when you activate like an animated object, it will just load your console for a warning. So if you go to Kinematic, it will not do that. And then Dynamic is what we want, because we want to be able to pick this thing up and throw it around and all kinds of dumb stuff like that. Next up, we're going to go to shape, and we're going to cast a shadow, receive shadow, and we want this to be non-renderable because that is our collision. Now we're going to go over a model, shape, cast, and receive shadow. Okay, so currently I just want to say our collision mask is set to default FF. We will end up fixing that, and I'll show you how. And it will remove warnings, 2 warnings I believe, out of our console. So this is kind of set up, so we just gotta save it, close this down, and we're basically good to go. We can delete the import me.i3d because we kind of like took the assets of it all and duplicated it into our dyn block.i3d. So let's refresh this. Now, as you can see, I already have it in my mods folder, so I'm just going to start the game up. So I'll be back once it's started. Okay, so I'm not sure how good it's going to run because I'm trying to shoot 4K on Windows, and Windows sucks. But if we go into the shop by hitting P, go over here, and then we go to palettes, go all the way over here, we have this none, and you don't see the image because we don't have an image for it. And this is the name of it. So if we open up the console, we have an error telling us that, well, it can't find this DDS image because it does not exist. But when we go in here, you'll notice that we do have some errors. So it complains about how our DDS textures are raw format, and let's see what else. Oh yes, this is because I'm not using the official i3D exporter for Blender. That's because I haven't figured out how in the world you get textures actually export with it. So, and then here it complains about the size of our textures. And then down here, I'm going to show you how to get rid of these two. We're going to be setting collision mask. And here it's telling us that this will not work for console. So here's about console. So anyways, we need to go and set a collision mask 1321. So I'm going to show you how to set a collision mask. So let's go back over here, go to your mod, go to your i3D, alright, go over to your collision box, rigid body, right where it says collision mask hex, FFF, 2 Fs, you hit these 3 dots, and then it opens up this collision mask window. Just select everything that is selected here. Okay, so if we go back here, it says 1321. So what we want to do is we look for 13, select it, and then 21, and select that. We hit OK, and it selects a collision mask of 22,000. Now, I recommend selecting these instead of typing the number in because sometimes it still doesn't seem to work. Control S, and I have a mod in here called Easy Dev Controls. If you don't, you have to close down your mod or your game and reopen it up. I'm not going to do that because I'm lazy. I'm just going to go here and go refresh store items. Alright, so now we're going to go back here, and when we open it up, we don't have this collision mask issues anymore. So if we buy this, it loads us up with errors that cannot load the resource of our image just because it doesn't exist. But here's our block. Now it is kind of floating. That's because of the collision. It's a little big, but you cannot walk through this. You can grab it, throw it. Let's get rid of our console. We buy a truck. Start her up and run at it. Now you cannot walk this in the bed. In a future video I may show you how to make it so you can strap this in the bed if you want to. If you comment down below and if this video gets enough likes, I will do it. But most importantly, the texture is on the object. Now there is one thing I want to stress a high amount of. So when you're building this, you want everything to be in this one folder. Like, for example, if I have this outside of this folder, it will not work. I don't care if you say, well, I went out there and I called to it. As soon as you zip this thing up and send it to someone, that texture is not there. You need everything you call in there. So my mod disk is calling this XML. That XML has to be in this folder. My XML is calling this i3D. That i3D has to be in the folder. This i3D is calling this shapes folder. That has to be in there. This i3D is calling the textures here. That has to be in there. And so on. If you want to make this editable for people, these Blender files are calling these textures in this textual file. If they are not there, you cannot use them. Just make sure everything you need is inside the folder before you zip it up and send it to someone. I see a lot of people doing that, and that causes problems, and then they're like, I don't know why this doesn't work. I hope this helped you guys. If it did, please subscribe, like it. Go check out some of my tutorials, and leave me a comment down below what you thought. Stay safe. Modding ain't a crime. Neither is gaming. Respect the modders. I notice a bit of an issue. I don't know what caused this. I'm not sure how long it was showing this problem, but if you notice, our texture is not showing up. Let's see, do we have a texture on our one we just exported? No, we do not. Oh, stupid me. Boom. I'm a retard. Okay. Let's cut this out. I'm a retard. Never mind.